The bus stop was crowded that morning, the air thick with the damp smell of rain and the muted chatter of commuters trying to escape the cold. Mia huddled on the edge of a wooden bench, her thin jacket doing little to keep the chill away. She hugged her small backpack close, eyes downcast, wishing she could simply disappear into the gray city around her. People hurried past, their faces buried in scarves or phone screens, offering nothing more than a glance, or, more often, no glance at all. Then a small hand tugged at hers, pulling her out of her solitude. Mia looked up, startled, to see a little girl with wide, curious eyes staring directly at her. Lucy, with her damp braids and a bright yellow raincoat, tilted her head as if trying to solve a puzzle she couldn't quite understand. "Are you all alone?" she asked softly, voice barely above the hum of the city. There was no judgment in her tone, only honest curiosity. Mia blinked, unsure how to respond. She had grown used to being invisible, to the way strangers skirted around her presence as though she were a shadow. Yet here was this tiny girl, standing firm, her gaze warm and unafraid. Lucy shuffled closer, tugging on her mother's sleeve for permission but not breaking eye contact with Mia. She plopped down on the bench beside her anyway, her small knees bumping Mia's. The rain started to patter harder, and Mia instinctively raised her hands to shield herself. Lucy, noticing the thin fabric of Mia's coat, offered her little umbrella with a grin that was completely uncalculated but entirely sincere. In that simple gesture, something fragile and unexpected began to grow, a bridge across fear and loneliness, built with nothing more than innocence and courage. The rain fell steadily, tapping on the little umbrella Lucy held between them. Inside that small, shared space, the city noise softened, leaving room for words that usually went unspoken. Mia shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond to the girl's quiet insistence on staying by her side. I don't really talk to people," she said at last, her voice a mix of hesitation and fatigue. Lucy's eyes widened, not with judgment but with the kind of curiosity only a child could have. "That's okay," Lucy said simply. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to. I just thought maybe we could be together for a little while." She tugged at Mia's sleeve, then offered a crooked, hopeful smile. Mia found herself staring at the little girl's face, so earnest, so open, and felt a strange tug in her chest, one that hadn't stirred in months. Lucy leaned closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. "You need a home," she said softly, "and I need a mommy." Mia froze. The words were simple, almost too small to carry the weight they did, yet they landed like stones dropped into a quiet pond, sending ripples she couldn't ignore. For a long moment, Mia didn't speak. She looked down at Lucy, her heart aching in ways she had buried deep inside. The little girl wasn't pleading, wasn't demanding anything, she was offering a piece of her own world, her own hope, in exchange for a connection. And just like that, something shifted. A fragile trust began to form, an invisible thread weaving their lives together for reasons neither fully understood. In the drizzle and grayness of the morning, Mia realized that sometimes, the most profound truths are spoken not in grand declarations, but in the candid, unguarded words of a child. By mid-morning, the rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, leaving the streets glistening with reflections of city lights. Lucy tugged at Mia's hand, pointing toward the warm glow of a nearby coffee shop. "Let's get something warm," she said, her small voice bubbling with excitement. Mia hesitated, the thought of entering a place filled with strangers making her chest tighten. But Lucy's grip was firm and insistent, and somehow, the child's unshakable faith in her made it impossible to refuse. Inside, the smell of roasted coffee beans and sweet pastries wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. Lucy climbed onto a high stool, swinging her legs with uncontainable energy, while Mia hovered near the counter, unsure where she belonged. A barista noticed her hesitance and offered a gentle smile. "First coffee's on me," Lucy chirped, proud to take charge. They sat by the window, watching the rain-slicked streets and listening to the hum of quiet conversation. Lucy sipped her hot chocolate carefully, then pushed the cup toward Mia. "Here," she said simply. "It'll help warm you up." Mia accepted it, fingers trembling slightly as she held the cup. The warmth seeped into her hands, spreading slowly to her chest, melting some of the cold and fear she carried. "You know," Lucy said, leaning in conspiratorially, "you don't have to be alone forever. Some people just need a little help, and that's okay." Mia looked at her, eyes filling with a quiet awe she hadn't felt in years. A stranger, a little girl, had somehow reminded her that kindness wasn't fleeting, it could be a lifeline, a reason to believe again. In that small, crowded coffee shop, under the hum of conversation and the soft clatter of cups, Mia felt something she hadn't dared to hope for, the fragile, exhilarating spark of hope. The shelter office smelled faintly of disinfectant and hope, a strange combination that made Mia's stomach twist with nerves. Lucy's mother held her hand gently, guiding her toward the desk where a kind-faced social worker waited. "You're doing the right thing," Lucy whispered, squeezing her hand. Mia took a deep breath, realizing that for the first time in months, she wasn't facing the world alone. The social worker spoke softly, explaining the options: temporary housing, job assistance, and counseling. Mia listened, her mind buzzing, afraid yet eager to believe it could be real. She glanced at Lucy, whose small fingers laced through hers with unwavering trust. The little girl's presence made the decision easier. If she could face the world with such fearlessness, so could Mia. When the paperwork was finished, the social worker handed Mia the keys to a modest apartment. Her hands shook as she held them, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over her. "It's yours," the worker said warmly. "A place to start fresh." Mia's eyes filled with tears, and she turned to Lucy, who beamed up at her. "See? I told you," Lucy said. "You needed a home, and now you have one." In that moment, Mia understood something profound: giving and receiving kindness could change the course of a life. She had been lost, invisible, and afraid, but one little girl's courage and love had lit a path forward. Mia pulled Lucy into a tight embrace, feeling a warmth she hadn't known for years. The warmth of connection, trust, and the knowledge that she mattered. As they stepped out of the shelter together, the city seemed brighter, the world less daunting. A simple act of compassion had transformed both of their lives, proving that hope could arrive in the smallest of packages and that humanity, in its purest form, could heal even the most wounded hearts. Several months later, sunlight poured through the windows of a small, cozy apartment. The space was modest but filled with warmth, the scent of home-cooked meals mingling with the faint aroma of fresh flowers Lucy insisted on buying. Mia stood by the kitchen counter, preparing breakfast, while Lucy ran around with a stuffed bear clutched to her chest, laughing freely for the first time in what felt like forever. "Mommy, look!" Lucy called, holding up a crayon drawing of the two of them, smiling under a bright sun. Mia's heart swelled. The word felt strange at first, foreign and heavy. But now it carried the promise of belonging, of a bond formed through courage, trust, and love. She knelt down, taking Lucy's small hands in hers. "It's perfect," she said, her voice thick with emotion. The city outside buzzed as it always did, indifferent to the lives of those within it, but inside this little apartment, something miraculous had taken root. Two lives that had once been lonely and adrift had found each other, each giving what the other needed most: Lucy's unwavering hope and Mia's newfound stability and love. Mia watched as Lucy skipped off to play, her laughter echoing through the rooms. She realized that kindness wasn't just about grand gestures or dramatic rescues, it was in the small, consistent choices, the courage to reach out, to share, and to trust. That morning, as sunlight spilled across the floor, Mia finally understood that home wasn't just a place. It was the people who made you feel safe, seen, and loved. And sometimes, the ones who need us the most are the very ones who remind us who we truly are. In that quiet, sunlit apartment, hope had taken root, and both hearts were forever changed, bound together by the simple, powerful act of human compassion.